Imagine the heat of 2 p.m. on the third mainland bridge. The air smells like burnt rubber, expensive perfume, and pure panic. A senator is screaming, a bride is crying as her makeup melts in the sun, and the man responsible, a man wearing a lace outfit worth more than your car, is trembling because he doesn't know how to fix the very engine he claimed to own. But then, a dirty Okada weaves through the traffic. A boy with hands as black as charcoal steps off. This is not just a story about a broken car, it is a story of a brotherhood sold for 5 million naira. To understand how they got to this bridge, we have to go back to a dusty mango tree in Mushin. The red dust of Mushin has a way of settling on everything, but it never seemed to bother Obina and Friday. They were 5 and 6, the kind of friends people in the neighborhood assumed came from the same womb. While other boys were chasing footballs in the sandy streets, Obina was always stopped under a massive, aging mango tree. His hands were permanently black, a deep, stubborn engine oil stain that had worked its way into his cuticles and under his fingernails. The air around their small workshop always smelled the same, a heavy mixture of roasted corn from a nearby vendor, the sharp, stinging scent of burnt diesel, and the metallic tang of rusted iron. You could hear the constant clink of Obina's mismatched spanners hitting the dirt as he walked. Friday was always right beside him. He didn't have a spanner, and he didn't like getting his clothes dirty, but he had a tongue as smooth as imported silk. Friday was the one who would stand by the busy roadside, waving down car owners whose engines were smoking, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Oga, stop. Don't take that sound to those trial-and-error mechanics. Come and see my brother, the doctor of engines. He can make a dead Peugeot fly and a tired Volkswagen roar." They shared everything in those days. One single sachet of Tom-Tom for energy when the sun was too hot. One plate of momoput rice at 4 p.m., which served as their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. "Obi," Friday would say, leaning against the rough, bark-covered trunk of the mango tree, fanning himself with a piece of cardboard. "Look at your hands. Just look at that grease. One day, my brother, I will make sure you only touch steering wheels made of the finest leather. We will leave this smell of exhaust fumes and stagnant gutter water behind. We will be big men." Obina would just wipe his forehead with a greasy sleeve, leaving a thick black streak across his brow. He would grunt, "Friday, stop dreaming and get me the 12 to 13 range. Dreams don't fix gaskets, work does." Those days were a long, slow struggle. There was the time they spent 3 whole days eating nothing but roasted corn because a customer had tricked them and ran away without paying for a complex gearbox repair. Obina's stomach was churning, making hollow sounds like an empty fuel tank. To keep their spirits up, Friday would stand up and mimic the way the greedy customer walked, a funny, arrogant limp, making Obina laugh until he. Then there was the year of the big flood. The rain in Lagos didn't just fall, it poured like the sky had a personal grudge against the poor. Their tiny shack was in a swampy part of Mushin, and within hours, the water rose until it was swirling around their waist, cold and smelling of everything the city's sewers wanted to forget. They had to pile their few precious tools on top of an old wooden table and sit on the corrugated iron roof for 2 days, shivering as the rain lashed down. Obina started crying, not because of the cold, but because his favorite set of chrome wrenches had slipped into the black, muddy depths of the flood. Without a single word, Friday dove into that filthy water. He stayed under so long that Obina began to scream his name, thinking his friend had drowned. But then Friday's head popped up, gasping for air and spitting out brown water, holding the wrenches high like a trophy. "As long as you have your tools, Obi," Friday said, shivering so hard his teeth rattled, "we are still the kings of this jungle." When Obina's only pair of work trousers finally tore down the middle, Friday didn't just sit there. He went to the motor park and did heavy lifting for 2 nights straight. He came back on the third morning with trembling legs and bloodshot eyes, but he was holding a fairly used pair of jeans. "Wear this, Obi," he panted, dropping the jeans into Obina's oil-stained lap. A master engineer cannot be showing his boxers to the public. We have a reputation to protect. They even had a system for their one good pair of shoes. Friday would wear them on Sundays to go to the big churches in Ikeja, looking sharp to scout for rich clients among the congregation. Meanwhile, Obina would stay back in the shack, scrubbing their greasy rags with a bar of soap and a hard brush until his palms were raw and white. There was one December when the harmattan wind was biting and dry. They didn't even have enough money for a single candle, let alone a Christmas chicken. They sat in the pitch-dark shack, huddled under a thin, torn wrapper. "Close your eyes, Obi," Friday whispered into the darkness. "Can you smell it? The fried chicken. The jollof rice with plenty of moi moi and fried plantain. I swear on my father's grave, next year, we won't be eating imagination. We will be the ones people are begging for crumbs." The years of sweating together should have made them inseparable, but as the money slowly started to trickle in, the mouth organ started wanting a bigger share than the engine. Their big break finally came in the form of a vintage 1970s Mercedes-Benz Pullman, a long car belonging to the famous Senator Akpan. This car was a legend in Lagos, a dead body that had been rotting in an Ikoyi mansion for 10 years. Every big-name mechanic from Victoria Island to Lekki had tried to start it and failed. Friday spent 3 weeks investing every kobo of their savings to bribe the senator's head gateman just for a 5-minute audience. When they finally stood before the senator in his grand parlor, a room that smelled of expensive lavender, air conditioning, and the old money, Friday performed the role of his life. "Distinguished Senator," Friday began, bowing so low his forehead almost touched the polished marble floor. "My company, Friday Global Ventures, has the specialized technical blueprints for this German masterpiece. This boy here, Obina, is my chief technician. He is gifted, yes, but he is just the hands. I am the brain that calculates the combustion ratios and the fuel injection timing." The senator looked at Obina's stained shirt and calloused hands with a look of mild disgust. "If you fix it," the senator said, "I will make you the richest mechanics in the state. If you waste my time, I will make sure you never pick up a spanner in this city again." For 30 days and 30 nights, Obina lived inside that garage. The air was thick and heavy with the smell of degreaser and old, rotten leather seats. He didn't shower, he just wiped his neck with a damp rag at 2 a.m. He dismantled the engine bolt by bolt, cleaning every valve with a toothbrush until his fingers were raw and bleeding. Friday was rarely there during the heat of the day. He was upstairs in the kitchen, charming the senator's cooks, or in the garden, making friends with the senator's political associates. He was busy packaging himself in new clothes, while Obina was busy working in the shadows. The day the engine finally roared to life, the sound was like a lion waking up after a long sleep. The senator came out in his flowing white agbada, clapping his hands in pure joy. Obina, exhausted, thin, and smelling of diesel, waited for a "well done, brother." Instead, Friday stepped forward, wiped a tiny speck of dust off his own clean sleeve, and pulled the senator into a corner. "Sir," Friday whispered, looking back at Obina with a look of fake pity. "The boy is a genius with his hands, but he is a heavy drug addict. I saw him trying to hide your gold cufflinks in his tool bag this morning. For your safety, I think you should let him go immediately before he steals something else. I will handle the maintenance of the fleet myself." That night, Friday walked into the garage with a fake smile. "Obi, we did it. Go back to Mushin now and prepare the workshop for a massive party. I am coming with the check and the contract." Obinna was so happy he spent his very last kobo on 2 roasted chickens and 4 cold bottles of beer. He sat in their shack in Mushin, waiting for his brother to arrive. He waited until midnight. He waited until the sun came up. Friday never showed. When Obinna finally went back to the Ekoi mansion to look for him, the security guards pointed rifles at his chest. The master said, "You are a dangerous thief. Move before we waste you." The betrayer entered Obinna's heart like a rusted nail. For 6 months, Friday lived the life of Chief Friday. He moved into a 3-bedroom flat in Suraleh, bought a shiny SUV, and blocked Obinna's number on every platform. He took a massive 5 million naira contract to maintain the senator's entire fleet. But Friday forgot the most important rule of the mechanic's trade: you can lie to a man, but you can never lie to a machine. To maximize his profit, Friday started buying China spare parts and using recycled oil in the senator's luxury cars, pocketing the rest of the money to pay for champagne and fine girls at the clubs. The final twist came on the day of the senator's daughter's wedding, the biggest event in the country. A massive convoy of 20 cars was heading across the third mainland bridge. Suddenly, the lead Mercedes, the one Friday claimed he had personally tuned, started coughing thick, black smoke. Cough, sputter, bang. The gearbox seized with a sound like shattering glass. One by one, the other cars in the convoy, all serviced with Friday's fake parts, began to boil over and stall. The senator was trapped in the 2 p.m. heat, his daughter's expensive wedding makeup running down her face like a river of ink. Friday was there, hitting the dashboard, screaming at the car, "Start. I command you to start." But the car just hissed at him. The air smelled of burnt rubber and Friday's expensive, sweat-soaked perfume. The senator's PA, who secretly remembered the quiet boy who actually did the work, called Obinna in a panic. Obinna arrived on the back of an Okada, his old, rusted tool bag slung over his shoulder. The scene on the bridge was pure chaos, with area boys gathering and the senator roaring in anger. Friday saw him and tried to hide behind a bus, but there was nowhere to go. Obinna walked past his old friend as if he were a ghost. He didn't say, "I told you so." He didn't even look at him. He listened to the engine for exactly 5 seconds, then reached deep into the boiling, smoking heat of the motor. He pulled out a clump of thick, black, gritty sludge. "You use fake oil, Friday," Obinna said, his voice flat and cold. "You sold our sweat and our years of hunger for a fake life." With a few expert turns of a wrench, Obinna bypassed a faulty sensor and got the lead car running in 10 minutes. The senator watched everything from the back seat. After the wedding, he didn't call the police. He did something much more painful. He made Friday sign over the papers for the Suraleh flat and the SUV to Obinna as restitution. He then stripped Friday of everything and told him that if he ever saw his face in Lagos again, he would ensure he spent the rest of his life in a hole. As the police led a weeping Friday away, his chief clothes covered in the same black oil he used to mock, he shouted, "Obi, remember the mango tree. Remember the flood. We are brothers." Obinna looked down at his hands, still stained, still rough, still honest. "I remember, Friday," Obinna said quietly. "But the brother who dove into the floodwater for me died the day he stepped into that Ekoi mansion." Obinna eventually built the biggest mechanical workshop in West Africa, but he never again let anyone else hold the malt organ for his work. And whenever he passed a mango tree, he would stop for a moment, remembering that the most dangerous leak in an engine isn't oil, it's greed. If you know that greed is the worst leak in any engine, like this video and subscribe to join the workshop.